In this video, we are going to show you how to install an upgraded vapor canister vent solenoid on the Chevy 1500. This will be located along the rear of your fuel tank. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We're going to safely make our way underneath the vehicle and locate the vent solenoid. A quick note about replacing this, you will want to have approximately 6 feet of 5/8 heater hose and 4 hose clamps to hold it in place. Let's get into it. Before we go too far with the removal process here, let's just have a look at the connection point where the solenoid connects to the line. If yours is permanently attached like ours is here, we're going to have to cut this line, and you're going to want to have a 5/8 heater hose making its way between the line and the vent solenoid itself. Let's start removing this by disconnecting the electrical connector. For this, it has one locking tab. You can go ahead and tug that away and pull this down and out of position. A quick inspection for corrosion, of course. This looks fine. We'll hang that aside. Continuing on, we're going to focus on the line that leads to that vent valve. This is a permanent line, so we're going to have to actually cut this. You can cut it in several different ways. I'm going to use a hose cutter, but you can also use a razor blade if necessary. Just double check to make sure that the line itself is not cracked or damaged. We don't want to have any type of leak here. This looks fine. Continuing on, we're going to dislodge this from the fuel tank. Looking right along here, you can see that there is a locking tab. For this, you can use pretty much anything. I'm using an angled pick. You can also use a small flat blade screwdriver. Just make your way in, push that locking tab towards the fuel tank, and now we're going to take this unit and push it towards the driver's side, dislodging it. There it is, friend. Let's go ahead and clean up this mounting area. Just give it a quick inspection. Make sure the lock is still in good usable order. Okay, now we can install our brand new upgraded EVAP canister vent valve. Now as we bring this in, we're going to start sliding it from the outboard side or the left side in towards the center of the vehicle. We want to make sure we have it properly aligned, and we can see that locking clip. Now, as I was pressing this in, I could tell that it is aligned, but it's definitely not locked in. I can see that the lock is not over this area, so I'm just going to tap it into position. There we are. Now we can see our locking tab wrapping around this area. We'll go ahead and give this a wiggle. It should not slide out of place. Continuing on, we want approximately 2 inches of 5/8 hose. We're going to go in between this line and all the way over to the vent solenoid. When installing the hose, we want to make sure we have it far enough along the line that we can install a clamp. So I'm just going to take a quick eyeball measurement here. An approximate area right there is where I want to be. We'll go ahead and slide this hose directly onto the line. Once you have that on there, we'll continue on with 2 clamps. And now we can bring the other portion of the hose over to the vent valve. We're going to slide it on there as far as possible, and then we can install our 2 clamps. When installing your clamps, you want to make sure you can see hose on both sides of the clamp. Otherwise, you might find you have a leak. Continue on by tightening those clamps. For me, I'm using an 8mm for this clamp. Let's get that next one on there. We'll go ahead and take hold of that. We're going to give it a little tug, trying to separate it. It should not separate. Now it's time for the electrical wiring harness. We'll get this into position. The locking tab should be facing out towards us. Press it in, listen for a click, a light tug confirming that's secured. Now that we have this on, we're going to be paying attention along this area. This is where the rest of that hose is going to come in handy. We need to make our way all the way from here. We're going to go over towards the driver's side of the frame, up straight forward towards the front of the vehicle, and then over towards the fuel filler neck. Okay, that's over the frame. We can continue on in this area. I'm going to install my clamp. Slide that on there as far as possible. We'll tighten this clamp. I can see hose on both sides. Now let's go ahead and make our way on the outside of that frame. We can take hold of that hose. We're going to start running it over towards where that filler neck is, as I mentioned. But before we go too far, let's continue on with this small filter. Before you install the filter though, it is a good idea to have a clamp on here so we can go ahead and tighten that once it is in the proper position. Make sure we can see hose on both sides. Tighten that clamp. Just double check, make sure that's secured in place. Now, as far as this filter, I like to bring it all the way up as high as possible, so I'm going to come up along the fuel filler neck. We'll stretch that up there as far as possible, as I mentioned, and now I'm just going to wire tie it in place. Just trim off the excess. Now for the final two mounting points, I'm going to use the bed rail right along here. I have a wire tie going through the port. We'll just go ahead and bring that hose over, align the wire tie. Get our next one right along the next bed rail. Let's just double check, make sure that's secured in place. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our upgraded vent valve solenoid. At this point, you want to make your way out from under the vehicle, start up your vehicle, and let it run for a short while. Make sure you have no running condition, no check engine light, take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.